Today we're going to talk about Wormhole, and we're going to go into a little more deeper analysis of it. 6 days a week, I do a tip, tool, or coin analysis. Today we're talking about Wormhole because yesterday, on August the 12th, I did a quick video that I had bought some. So today I want to do more of a coin analysis in a little deeper dive, if you will. I hate that term. I think it's ridiculous, but it's kind of funny. I'm a big dumb animal. Don't do what I say. That's a disclaimer. Let's start talking about it. We'll get into 5 main areas today. We're going to talk about the coin itself and what it does. We'll look at the money raised and the management team. We'll look at, let's see, the token itself, the market cap, that sort of thing, the tokenization, what's being unlocked and when, get into competitors, and then a projection. Now, if you've been watching my channel, you know that I am big on crypto for the long term. So I look at things as if I'm investing for the long term. If there is a bull run and things run up like crazy and there's some profits to be taken, great. Otherwise, I want to be in crypto that I believe is going to be around for the long term. Wormhole is in a, let's say, industry. It has some utility, and I haven't been investing in this area yet. I've been more into layer ones, pretty heavy on the layer ones. DeFi with respect to real world assets, and AI as well as DePIN as it relates to AI. Those are my main focus areas. But what's interesting to me is I have no idea how these layer ones are going to shake out. I'll show you a video from one of the founders, but it looks like there's about 120 potentially layer ones, and there may be more. And if you're familiar with any type of new industry, if you go back over time, when something new comes out, a whole bunch of competitors pop up, and then some of them just die off, some of them consolidate together, some of them are acquired, and typically you'll have a handful that own the vast market share. Well, that may or may not happen in this layer 1 space. I don't know how it's going to play out. The interoperability between those layers, I think there's a lot of utility here. And that's essentially what Wormhole does, and that's the industry that they're in, the interoperability and messaging between layers. Okay, so let's take a look at, if you just go to CoinMarketCap, you can see total supply 10 billion. Currently, they've got about a fourth of that circulating. You take the circulating, you times it by the current price, and you end up with a market cap, 500 million. I like to look at fully diluted. I think that's the best way to compare them. Apples to apples, it's at 2.2 billion at the moment. We'll get into the pricing and that sort of thing later. So if you go to the website, Wormhole, first off, my old man gripe, I'm going to have it every single time. Please put black text on a white background. White text on a black background, and I don't know what's going on. Anyway, what's the problem solved here? Isolated networks, layer ones. My terrible analogy is a bunch of interstate highways, and there's no way to get from one highway to the other one, but you want to. So how do they solve this problem? Well, it's the messaging layer, which is connecting and allowing them to do asset transfers or NFT transfers. I mentioned those two because whenever I see Wormhole in articles and whatnot, they seem to be focusing quite a bit on the transfer. I think because that's the majority of transfers at the moment, maybe, is like NFTs and asset transfers. There's probably a lot of value there. You've got 2 others in this space that we'll talk about that are somewhat similar. One thing that's interesting is they make it easy to use. If you go under products and connect, they talk about how you can bring native and wrap token transfers directly in an application with 3 lines of code. Fascinating. You can see how it works, etc. This is what I want to show you real quick. Great way to explain it. Make any token natively multi-chain. And one thing, because like many of you have been in this space for a while, check this out. No need for liquidity pools. What they call their NTT enables token transfers without the need for liquidity pools. The idea that you've got 2 different tokens in a liquidity pool so that you can make an exchange between the 2, just like an exchange of currency. If you've got one country's currency, you show up at the airport, you want another company's currency, and that currency provider's got to have both on hand so they can do that exchange. But this enables transfers without the need for liquidity pools, which eliminates fees, slippage, and risk, MEV risk. Okay, that alone to me is fascinating. I mean, if you just said, wow, this one thing just allowed multi-chain transfers and there's no need for liquidity pools, that in and of itself I think is great. All right, if you go over and you want to take a look at their supported blockchains, you can see all of them here. Of course, Ethereum, Solana, etc. I think I may have used it the other day when I went from the render Ethereum over to the render Solana. I think if you use their tool from render, I believe it actually used Wormhole. I could be wrong. All right, so generally speaking, that's what they're doing. The interoperability between these chains. We don't know if we're going to end up with 1 chain, 10 chains, 100, 1,000, but being able to bridge, I think that's huge utility. It's what I'm always looking for, utility, and it's actually being used. And let's get to that. We'll talk about one of the founders. This is one of the founders. There's 2 co-founders. There's a backstory to this company, but I'll put a link to this YouTube video. So I just want to fast forward to this particular slide here. What he has here is showing that it's being used and in a big way. This is 1 week's worth of data from Ethereum over to Solana, or over here to Sui, or to Binance. And the total transferred was 150 million. And you can see he's got even more as you go down here, but that's the lion's share from Ethereum to these 3 networks. And of course, they go over to Arbitrum, Aptos, Base, Optimism, you name it, it keeps going. But that's a huge amount in a 7-day period of time. So it's always great to see, do they have utility? Of course, there's always use cases. That's why they build it. But is it actually being used? Yes, it is. That's pretty substantial. Okay, so that's the coin itself and what it does, the crypto, if you will. It's being used, and let's look at the money raised and when they popped up. And actually, first, take a look at this article. So Wormhole raises $225 million at a 2.5 valuation. And let's just jump back to DeFi Llama. If you go under raises, you can see, yes, 29th of November, 2023. Who'd they raise from? One that'll pop out at you is Coinbase Ventures. I think that's always helpful. The valuation was $2.5 billion, and that's exactly what this article says. I always like to just make sure that the information's the same everywhere you look. So when they originally raised it, it was last November of 23, not that long ago. They were created, I believe, I don't know all the details, it was hard to find information about it, but they were, I guess, intermingled with one called Jump Trading. And then they had some sort of a split. I don't know why or how, because they had some problems in the past. There must have had, it looks like they had some kind of a hack. Then they paid back or replenished the money that was missing. They since fixed that. That was when they were related to Jump Trading. And then some of the founders or some of the individuals at Jump Trading left. They jumped ship at Jump Trading. That was a good one. And they started Wormhole, and that was in 2024. And just note, that was on a 2.5 billion valuation. We'll get to that when they did their money raise. Okay, so that's the raises. That's who raised it. If we look at the founders, Dan Reeser, who's the individual that's in this particular video. There's also videos with the other founder, Robinson Berkey. I think that's always great when you can find that they're giving presentations. You can see who they are. You know who's behind it. That's the coin. That's the money raised. Those are the people that are behind it. All right, let's look at the tokenization here. Token unlocks. And if you just scroll down, they've got 26% unlocked. They had a recent event. That was in April of 20. Oh, that's the upcoming is April 25. This event was fairly recent. But here you go with the whole list of the unlocks. Today is right here, obviously, because it says today. So just recently, and it looks like it was around August 2nd to August 4th, they had a large unlock of about 600 million tokens. Community and launch, it went from 1.1 to 1.7. But notice, of all these categories, between now and next year, August 3rd of 25, only 3 categories are changing. And actually only 2, because the community and launch that went to 1.7 is already done. So between now and this time next year, it's only the foundation treasury, a lot of infrastructure, coins are used for infrastructure and building the network, that sort of thing, ecosystem and incubation. Only those 2 are changing between now and then. And it looks like between now, roughly 2.6 billion, let's call it, and 3 billion. So it's only 400 million being unlocked within the next year. Personally, how do I feel about token unlocks? Again, I look at the entire fully diluted market cap, which means I'm looking at all of these unlocks and I'm taking all of them into account. And to me, unless I see just a huge amount going to investors or something like that, it doesn't bother me. You know, they've got their initiatives, they have their roadmap, they have their plan, and I'm going to assume that these unlocks tie directly to their plan, and this is how they intend to execute it. If you believe in the venture capitalists, if you believe in the founders from what you've seen, then you got to believe they're going to execute their plan properly. So yes, sometimes when there's unlocks, the price will dip, but if everyone has perfect information and we're all talking about fully diluted, then over time it should just be a blip and it should regain pricing. I do like that down here at the bottom, if you're interested, they tell you what each of these different categories of tokens that are being unlocked, generally speaking, are used for. Okay, so token unlocks don't bother me. Nothing on the radar there. Let's look at the category that they're in. Interoperability. Okay. At the top, always ask me about cookies. How many times are you going to ask me about cookies? First, they've got an interoperability industry list on CoinMarketCap. It starts with ICP. We all know I'm invested in ICP. I'm invested in many of these. I always have to say that, but it's pretty generic. It's incredibly powerful, but it can do many things. I don't think their focus is just cross-chain messaging. I wouldn't put them at the top of the interoperability list. Cosmos, no, wouldn't put it there. Quant, wouldn't put it there. BitTorrent, So it looks to me, based on, now they do it based on market cap. However, this is the not fully diluted market cap. So be it. So they're number one here. And then Axelar, and I also own some Axelar, and I may be buying more. That's the second one I may be buying more of. LayerZero's interesting, but incredibly new. So of these top ones here, I would say the industry should really start with Wormhole, Axelar, and LayerZero when it comes to cross-chain messaging and interoperability. So let's look at all three of those. Let's get into the pricing itself. So LayerZero, let's see, I got here that they're generic. They claim to be generic messaging, enabling any type of cross-chain communication, not just asset transfers. They're trying to differentiate themselves there. So in other words, they say function calls, data exchange, governance votes, and of course NFT transfers and others. They want to do it all. They have only been out since it appears to be June of 24. So that is very recent. There's nothing I can say about this chart. I wouldn't even know where to start. It's just brand new. So let's look at Wormhole, and then let's take a look at Axelar. All right, so Wormhole, again, just out since April of 24. It looks like it actually closed in that first, I've got this on a daily at 1.3. It has just had a steady decline with the rest of the market, so nothing, I think, a big to worry here. 0.2 is what it's at. If it was a 1.3 when it came out, if it even reached 1.3, what's that? 6 times? Just to get back up there, and that was based in June. We haven't even had the real run-up yet. Or, I'm sorry, that was April. But let's just see, how does it compare to its competitor in the space, which I would say would be Axelar. Axelar has been out for a while. And in about the same time frame, February, March, what did we say Axelar was? Happens when you get old, you forget things fast. April. All right, so let's look at April. March, April. All right, so it was around 1.6, 1.4, and it's down to 0.55. But it peaked here in March around 2.5. Let's just use 2.5. So that's 5 times. So it dropped 5 times from its high this year. Wormhole dropped 6 times from its high this year. So, and that's kind of what's happening to a lot of these altcoins. So anyway, I don't think it would be a stretch to think that if we do have quite a bit of liquidity with all the central banks throughout the world, and we've got a lowering of interest rates, and they're dumping and printing more money, we've got more liquidity in the market, and we do hit this bull run, which it looks like we may. The past is not indicative of the future, but it may be to some extent. I don't think it's a stretch to say that you could 5x your money on Wormhole. Personally, I'm hoping for substantially more. And even if it does run up at this price, I may hold part of my holdings for a much longer period of time. Interoperability is not going anywhere, in my opinion. Axelar. Let's take a look. Axelar, message passing and assets between networks. I can't really tell a difference in terms of their marketing and messaging, other than Wormhole seems to be at least talking mainly about NFTs and asset transfers, but I would say that they're probably doing substantially very much the same thing. Wormhole, I'm in. Someone asked me in one of the messages, comments, what percentage, and I think I'm probably only like 1% of my portfolio. I'm trying to stay within only a couple industries. I probably have too many tokens, around 30. I'm consolidating some of those. I have some within an IRA, some not in an IRA, just being transparent. And I think at some point, if it makes sense, I might start a Discord and go into exactly what I've got and exactly what my exit strategies are, and see if there's some like-minded people that like the same industries I do and feel that we really need to dive pretty deep into these cryptos, because, you know, over time, this market, as it matures, should theoretically become less and less volatile. And also, it should stop growing as much just based on hype. And people should start caring a little more about, is it actually useful? And is it actually being utilized? And is there actually value there? So I think we're going to start getting into that, particularly now that companies like Grayscale and others have started these index funds, because they're not just doing this and picking and throwing things into an index fund, right? They're starting to do real analysis, which may not have happened the last run-up or the one prior, but I think we're going to see a lot more of that. So I think it behooves you to do your own research and, like I do, try to really dive in. So that's what I'm trying to provide. Hopefully it's a little different than what you see out there from some of these other videos, is I'm trying to actually look and dive into, is it being used? Is there utility? Is it valuable? And will it be around for the long haul? Who are the competitors? And how does it stack up in that space? So that's it for today. Wormhole, my projection, at least a 5x from the price of 20 cents. I don't think $1.50 is going to be hard, and I would love to see a 10x. That would be my goal. That's it. Have a great day. Thanks for watching. And as I always say, I hope we can all make generational wealth together in this bull run with crypto.